The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
For being here, I'll call the meeting to order. This is the City of Plant City Planning Board meeting on Wednesday. Would you please call the roll, Madam Clerk? Yeah.
Arthur Wood,
Here.
Jeremy Burke, Bonnie Carr,
Present.
Douglas Driggers,
Here.
Nick Thurston,
Here.
Bruce Rodwell,
Here. Here. Thank you. First item of business is the approval of the minutes of September 23rd. Is there a board member that wishes to make a motion? Motion to approve. Okay, I heard Mr. Driggers first, but I'll take Bonnie Carr as a second. Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor of them? You have to call roll for this, madam? Okay, so this is a motion to approve the minutes of September 23rd.
Arthur Wood,
Yes.
Bonnie Carr,
Yes.
Douglas Driggers,
Yes.
Nick Thurston,
Yes.
Bruce Rodwell,
Yes.
Jason Jones.
Yes. Thank you. Next item of business is public comments. This is the opportunity for anyone to speak from the public on an item that's not on the agenda for today. So this is the opportunity for the public to speak, public comments. Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comments. Move to swearing in of the staff and speakers. Madam Clerk?
Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is a quasi-judicial matter, PB 2020-10, the Berea Plan Development District Modification. We'll recognize Robin Baker to speak. Thank you for being here. By the way, thank everyone for being here. I know this is a special meeting, but it's a pretty special topic. So go ahead, Robin.
Good morning, board members. Robin Baker, Senior Planner with Planning and Zoning Department, and I have been sworn in. I have a presentation ready today if we decide to move forward, but the applicant has requested a continuance to this application. They wish to further work with staff to hopefully reach a point of support instead of the denial that has been included in your packet today. So I'll reserve my time for a rebuttal if needed, but if you have any questions, I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
I guess I just have a procedural question. What's the implications for the to the applicant if a denial goes through and that's the recommendation and that's what happens? Is there, for example, a waiting period in which the applicant has to wait before they can come back with a new application? Yeah.
No, sir. This is just a recommendation by staff to this board.
Right.
And we've given you the reasons as to why we're recommending denial. So there's nothing to stop this from being a regular public hearing, you would recommend. Oh, no,
I understand. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't phrase my question properly. If the denial is the decision by the commission as well, is there any implications that, for example, does the applicant have to wait 2 months before they can reapply, or any implications?
They would just have to follow our normal planning board schedule. So at that time, if it's a denial, they would have to just find whatever the next cutoff date is, and they would stick to that time.
Okay, very good. Okay. Mr. Buckman, were you going to comment?
Yeah, I was just going to comment. If the applicant wanted to, the applicant could go ahead and proceed forward to the city commission with a recommendation of time.
I understand.
It's down.
I understand.
But other than that, they would just come back.
I understand. I just want to make sure there was no other implications to that. Okay, thank you. Would the applicant wish to speak? Would you come forward, identify yourself, name and address, and state that you've been sworn in?
Good morning, Kurt Gardner, 400 North Nestle Drive. I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
And yes, we are requesting a continuance. We were actually supposed to be in front of you September 23rd. At that point, we had a staff report that was supportive of our application. We feel we've met with staff since then, thought we were actually making ground, and so we were a little shocked to get a recommendation of denial just last week. So what we're trying to do is work out any sort of last remaining issues. We feel like we've got that. And I do recognize that if you've called a special meeting, that people here to speak, we're fine if they want to go ahead and speak. And but we would request the time to hopefully work out any differences with staff. We feel like we're making tremendous ground, and D.R. Horton is dedicated to a quality project. And I think staff just wants to have the assurance that that's what we're going to provide. And so that's where we are. So we would ask for your consideration and to be heard October 28th, which is just 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And so that's the nature of our request, and we're here to answer any questions should you have them.
The board have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Give the opportunity for anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this. Yeah, you need to come forward, identify yourself, and state that you've been sworn in. Yeah. Yes, sir. Would you come forward? Thank you for being here.
Take this off. Anyway, I'm Byron Nelson. I live at the east end of Williams Road, 3235 East Williams Road. I spoke a month ago about water issues, which
Yes, sir.
everybody's concerned about that. Something else occurred to me
I'm
recently.
sorry. Pause 1 second. Oh, you didn't state that for the record.
I was smart. Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Said that he-
Thank you, Mr. Buckman.
I've noticed something recently occurred to me. Hopefully it's already been thought of and addressed, but there are a lot of large oak trees out there. There's southern live oaks out there that can be very old. I'm hoping that it's in the plan to save as many of those as we can and destroy as few as possible. I've seen some examples around various here and other counties where they just level everything. I don't think a lot of people realize how old these trees are. I can tell you my qualifications after my 2.5 minutes stuff or whatever. But anyway, looking out, I see a lot of these big oaks, big live oaks. And I did some calculations on, I measured some on my property, my neighbor, Jim Nicely's property over here in White Mass. I have 5 acres, he has 1, but just in that small 6 acres, we came across 2 oaks that are like well over, what was it? About 4.5 feet in diameter. Calculating that based on Theo Spengler's equations, it comes up about specifically for live oaks. Those are about 300, a little over 300 years, 331 years old for the age of those trees. There's another equation you can use. It's the different ones for general oak trees in general. It comes out like 209 years, but that includes ones that grow at different rates. So really, the 331 would be about the right age. Just to put this in perspective, I mean, something that old, those in there could have been from the late 1600s. 1689, look at actual numbers. Before the American Revolution, before we became a country, well before either one of those numbers, but well before the Civil War started. So I'm just hoping that that's already been incorporated. The city really needs to have some oversight to make sure that they design this, which could easily be done, to save as many of those trees as possible. Because there's a lot of history there. You can't just plant new ones and get back to where you were. Indeed, in our lifetimes, or kids' lifetimes, or grandkids' lifetimes. So that's big. I just hope the city would have some oversight on that, to make sure that many of those trees are spared as possible. But all of them possible. But anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for making a good point.
Any questions? Just so you know, I have a bachelor's degree in biology from USF. At some point when I worked for the city of St. Pete's Environmental Affairs Department for a few years, where I was in charge of the water quality laboratory, biological section. So we did things like this over there, but I got my master's degree in environmental science. So
Thank
you
you.
have that expertise in this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is still the opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? The issue is a continuance of the project. It'll come up again on October 28th. Is there anyone else? If you wish to speak, come forward. You need to give us your name and address and state that you've been sworn in. That's fine. You're among friends.
Okay,
Yeah.
Barbara Newman, and we live, do you want the whole address?
Yes, ma'am.
4014 Mossy Oak Drive, Lakeland,
Okay.
Florida.
And have you been sworn in?
No, but
We can remedy
I
that.
didn't know you were supposed to do that.
That's fine.
That's okay. Let me pause this thing. Just a minute.
Do you wish to be sworn in as well? We'll cover two people then. That's fine. If there's anyone else, yes, sir, stand up and be sworn in at this time. Anyone who's going to be speaking needs to be sworn in. That's the rule of thumb here.
Oh,
Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll start from the top. Give us your name, address, and state that you've been sworn
okay,
in.
it's Barbara Newman, 4014 Mossy Oak Drive, Lakeland, Florida, 33810.
And you've been sworn in.
Yes. I know the guy before me said something about the water. I don't know if that's been addressed before, but we just found out that these houses were going in this area. And my question is, right now, every time it rains or whatever, we get flooding in our area, which is right on the other side of the Hillsborough line. And my question is, because they don't do anything with the water on that side of Knights, and is anybody address the water issue that is going to happen once all these houses go in? We're going to get more water on that side of Knights Griffin, and obviously, more flooding. So I was just wondering, has that been addressed in this project?
Okay. After the public remarks, the applicant and the staff will have a chance to address your point. So
Okay, because,
it will be addressed shortly.
okay, because right now we just, it's flooding. And, we're just wondering if all these houses that are gonna go in there, the money that they're gonna make for the taxes on it, are they gonna use some of that money to address all this water issue?
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you for stepping forward. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Come forward, give us your name, address, and state for the record that you've been sworn in.
Okay, this morning, Patricia Ann Corrigan, I live at 5018 Duckwell Lane, just across from Wilder Road there. One of my things are, of course, it's always the flooding. However, I've been waiting for them to fix the drainage ditch just outside on the side of my road. Those are my neighbors that live next to it. It's been crushed down. They've done two way down the road that was draining, but ours is blocked, it's crushed, and the orange marks have been there for 4 months now, and they haven't done nothing. So why, my question is, if you can't fix that little drain, and you're gonna tell us that we're gonna have plenty of drainage for this project, I don't buy it. Because they can't fix the little ones. Go down Knights Griffin Road on a rainy day, this ditch is dry, this ditch is wet, this one's flooded, then the next one's dry. Knights Griffin isn't even maintained correctly. So that was all I have to say about that. Infrastructure. You guys are gonna build this community before you widen the roads. The pavement right across Knights Griffin from my place in North Wilder. We've had potholes there that they continue to just block up. Now further down, they paved it nicely, but it's going into a nice community that they're building on Samuel Road. But it is horrible. Even taking a horse trip through there is ridiculous. And when are they gonna fix these things? But we're gonna build this development, and we don't have the roads maintained now. Knights Griffin, since I've been here since '09, and Knights Griffin Road has gotten so dangerous for the wildlife. I've seen foxes, I've seen sandhill cranes, I've seen hawks, all get smashed on that road because people are hauling. You take a left into my area coming from 31, I have to slow down to make sure someone's not going to pass me. And I have my blinker. And a lot of times, there's no one coming the other way. I'll do a country turn, you all know what that is. I'll do a country turn just to say, help the people behind me to keep the traffic flowing. There's no turning lanes. It's just the road is very dangerous. And then we'll talk about the horse park across the break, because obviously you have to have a horse. And it's concerning when you're trying to pull in and out of there, and you got people cutting you, when you got your blinker on and taking a left. It's not maintained, there's no police force out there. Very rarely you'll see a police force. You'll see them out there. That's all it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other public comment? Thank you. Give us your name, address, and state that you've been sworn in for the record.
Good morning, Court. My name is Jim Nexley. I live at 3234 Williams Road, and yes, I've been sworn in. I've been a resident here for years. Love the wildlife. I'm just hoping that some type of oversight will be seen for the recent spotting of a family of bald eagles, which was just last week in the field of concern today, along with other species of wildlife that have been brought up, and along with gopher turtles. I've seen 2 families out there for 3 years. I'm just hoping that something can be done to help them move, because I'm sure that's what we're going to do. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Is there any other public comment from anyone in the audience? Madam Clerk, did we get any, I know you published a notice. Did anyone ask to come to this virtual meeting
I
and
have,
address the group?
yes, I had a Miss Lene Luttrell, but I'm not seeing her on the line. No, so she's not. I mean, Miss Luttrell, are you on the line? Miss Luttrell? No.
All right. I'll give another opportunity for anyone who wants to speak. Otherwise, we're going to close the public comment. Last chance. Okay, thank you. Appreciate all your remarks. We're closing the public comment. Staff, do you want to comment on anything that's been mentioned or any additional remarks?
Yes, I would. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to speak to the continuance date. As you know, 2 weeks ago at the 23rd meeting, staff requested that continuance, and that was simply because after we had filed the staff report that was filed, we realized that there was some information that was unclear that needed to be cleared up before we could move forward. That information has still not been cleared up, and that's why the staff report recommendation may have changed. The last time we continued it for 2 weeks, obviously that wasn't enough. So for us to say we're going to continue to October 28th, that means I would have to have all of their revised information by Friday. But if the board is going to ask me to do a notice again, I think it needs to be said that the proper noticing requirements should have been done yesterday. So we're already past that date that's required for the October 28th hearing. Now, the next date beyond that would be November the 18th, which would put us at a notice requirement of November the 3rd, and would give us a little bit more time to work with the applicant and give them a little more time to get those revisions and things done. So I just wanted to speak to that. As far as the comments made by the citizens, I just wanted to address a couple of things. First, all of the roads that surround this project on the outside are county maintained roads. So any of the ditches currently today that are made for drainage, those are all maintained by Hillsborough County. And so if there are issues and complaints, the citizens should contact Hillsborough County and file a report with them to let them know that there may be some issues. As far as drainage on the property, with any project that comes through the city, it goes through a rigorous review as to the drainage. It is a requirement of us and Swift Mud that they cannot create, they can't make the situation worse, let's just put it that way. We've talked about it many times here that if it floods today, there's a chance it'll flood after, but they can't make it worse. They have to be able to contain all of their water on site, and all of that is not really discussed here at this level. This is just to do with the use and the zoning on the property, but it will be reviewed as we move through the site plan review process, plats, those sort of things. As far as the eagles, gopher tortoises, any type of endangered animal on site, as part of the site plan review process, they will have to have an approval from the Army Corps of Engineers. And as that letter is produced, there's specific language in that tells them what to do if they were to encounter a gopher tortoise or a king snake. You know, all of these things that are protected, they're given specific instructions that they have to stop, do whatever they have to do to mitigate for that particular animal before they can move forward. If the citizens should see them doing anything and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, at that time they can call the Army Corps of Engineers and file a complaint and, you know, go through that process that way. But there are measures in place that help protect the endangered animals that are on the site. And just the last thing I would say, there are a number of transportation improvements that are required you know, by the PD as it is approved today. Several different types of turn lanes and things like that. So there have been transportation studies that were submitted, that were reviewed and determined that the size of the project would require certain improvements, and the applicant is committed with the current approved plan that they would do those things. So, any questions?
Thank you. I guess the same for the oak trees that the gentleman mentioned, grandfather oaks, there must be a provision to consider their importance, things like that, right?
Absolutely. As part of the site plan review process, it's actually
Okay.
Planning and Zoning Department that will review that.
Okay.
They are required to preserve a certain percentage of the existing trees. Now, should those trees be in the way of development, they would be allowed to remove them, but they would have to replace them inch for inch.
Mitigate, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have any questions for Robin Ford? The applicant, sir, would you like to take a moment? You're welcome to address any of the comments or add anything else.
Sure, again, Kurt Gardner, 400 North Paso Drive, and I have been sworn. Appreciate all the comments from the residents, and I think Robin addressed those nicely. And that's the only thing I would state on that is one of the benefits of a master plan community is you can have civil engineers, hydrologists, and natural engineers to look at those types of items. I know stormwater's been an issue out here. And so one of the benefits of a master plan community is community's ability to have a master drainage system, which we will. As it relates to the date, we feel like we're close to getting there. We'd like to try to stay on track here. Horton has some contractual obligations. We're committed to turning around a site plan by Friday to stay on your October 28th agenda. Notice would not be required, as I understand, since this is a continuance. If for whatever reason the impasse is larger than we think, which hopefully it's not, then we could request additional time, but we're committed to actually meeting right now with staff after this continuance is hopefully approved, and hopefully back in front of you in 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to comment on that date issue? There seems to be, don't know if we have to rule on that or not.
No. As far as the 15-day notice that Robin mentioned is in the rules, but that only applies, it wouldn't apply to the situation where you announce this meeting when it is for everybody who's present to hear what the time is. If you were to leave it to a date uncertain, then notice had to be sent out, absolutely, the 50 days would be required at that point. I think the issue that Robin was saying is that they need to have everything in a completed form by Friday in order to properly review it, get everything ready for the deadlines, and move to meet that October 28th day. So that's, and I think probably Robin could best respond to that as to the ability to do that. But it would require a completed, everything that is revised and completed, otherwise we end up doing the same thing we're doing today, that is having a continued hearing, and then not being able to meet that.
Well, that's partly where I was driving, is how do we avoid another continuance? Is there going to be sufficient time for all parties to do what they want to do with the proper amount of due diligence?
I think that's uncertain. I think they just have to work that out. I'll let Robin respond.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll know more after today's meeting. My big concern, because the majority of what I do for a living is to make sure that the public has a voice, you know, and we don't want to keep making them have to come back. We don't want to have to keep continuing. So, and again, the notice is not required, but, you know, obviously the last time we decided to go ahead and notice the public, so you're only giving them basically a week in advance notice to be here and make arrangements. The other part is, you know, technically those books that you get, the email that I send you has to go out next Thursday for the following week, you know, for that meeting. So essentially, if they got me everything by Friday, then I would have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to revise, review everything. And this is not my only case. You know, I do have other things on my agenda. So that's just staff's only concern. We can make it happen if we have to, but it is a short time frame, and I'm not positive that we can make that happen. Now, this is a unique situation in the sense of as we move into November and December, our dates are different anyway. It's not the last week because of the holidays. So we're only talking about a little bit of extra time by going to the November 18th hearing. It's not like it's going to the end of November. So anyway, it's the board's decision. We will make it happen however we want to. Staff is just concerned, is there enough time to really address all the concerns that need to be addressed?
Do any of the board members want to weigh in on that?
Yes, Chairwood, this is Bonnie Carr. I'd like to weigh in. I'm hearing staff, and you know, this is a huge project for our community, and I would not like to miss any opportunity for giving the citizens in that area an opportunity to know when things are being presented and to continue to be involved in this process. I had asked about the special meeting when we set it today. I would certainly not want to have us postpone it again. And I think staff has stepped up to accommodate this. And quite frankly, I just would feel more comfortable if staff had the information that's being promised to meet an October date, so that they have a time to make a thorough review of it, do all the notifications, and comfortably move forward with this mega project.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Any other board members want to share thoughts on that matter, this matter?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, recognize Jason Jones.
I'm also concerned about the notice. You know, we're talking about expanding the notice and about the notice being important for the public, and not having a notice for this next meeting concerns me. I think the public needs to be aware, and the notice is a big part. And the staff, you know, that is a lot to do, and to rush, it should be a project to me to be rushed. So between the notice and rushing, those two areas concern me.
Any other comments? I concur with those opinions, by the way. So how do we manage this? I mean, I'm not sure of the intricacies here. I know there's a matter of if we just call it continuance, if we leave it a date uncertain, then there's got to be a formal notification.
There was, and my understanding is we actually had the formal notification anyway last time.
Okay.
Because of the direction of the board, they went ahead and did notices. I think they redid the signs. So that process was done. If you left it date uncertain, that would give the parties, the developer and the staff to have an opportunity to get together to work out those details, and then they could get to you. And it's possible, I guess, it could be an unexpected, because I think the November date you were talking about at the end.
We could.
There's a regular meeting. There could also possibly be a special meeting, either at that time or another. But if you left it open-ended, the notice would have to be reset, but that's would be done anyway. It of course would have to be done with 50 days notice. Yes.
So if we leave it date uncertain, there's an opportunity to potentially hear it sooner if we, or
You
we could
could.
theoretically continue it
Good.
for a date certain in November.
Yeah.
Right, that would be another option.
Yes,
In both ways, we give a notice to the public.
and notice to be given to the public.
Oh, okay.
Bonnie?
Yeah, this is Bonnie Carr again. I'm not sure if I'm following why we need a date uncertain. If the developer feels very comfortable, well, at least somewhat comfortable in meeting this earlier date, why wouldn't we just schedule it for the regular meeting for November and get this back into the public schedule? Why wouldn't we do that? I'm not sure if there's something specific that is very concerning for the developer. You know, again, we've held this special meeting. I think staff was prepared, the public and the board was prepared. Why do we need to leave this open instead of just putting it on the next scheduled date so that staff can plan, address other projects, and have this back in sync with the deadlines that are set up in our schedule?
Okay, Robin stepped forward, so I think she'll address this.
I think generally speaking, the only reason that you'd benefit from a date certain at today's hearing is so that you wouldn't have to do the notice. You know, in other circumstance, if you do a date certain today, then the notice wouldn't be required. So all we're trying to say is that either way, we're going to send a notice. It's just how much time do we give the residents to plan to be here? Even if you were to say we're going to continue it without a date certain, I still believe we could meet that November 18th deadline by knowing that we have to get the notices out by November 3rd. It gives us, you know, a couple and a half weeks to review, make recommendation, and send those notices and be ready to move forward. So either way you choose to do it, I think that date is where staff would like to fall, is the November 18th. As long as everything goes smoothly.
Right. So I'm concerned about the crafting of the motion that would be adopting. It could be a continuance with a date uncertain.
It could be a date uncertain, it could be a date certain. I just would suggest, I don't know if the developer would want to weigh in.
Well, that was my next breath. I was going to ask the applicant to come forward and see. You've listened to the discourse. Do you have any additional thoughts you want to provide us? Yeah. I know you referenced contractual obligations and matters.
Yes, absolutely.
And I can appreciate that as a businessman.
I appreciate that.
But you're starting to hear where the sentiment is on this.
Yes, again, for Gardner 400 North National Drive. You know, on this, it's not like I think we've identified the issues, so it's not, we're starting fresh in the process. That said, and Chairman Wood, to your point, we are hearing the sentiment. I believe your special date would be November the 11th, which I talked to City Attorney Buckman yesterday evening, was nice enough to take a call from me. And there was some concern over social distancing and everything along those lines. So if that comports better than the October 28th date or the general meeting date, we would be fine with that. But again, we're trying to.
Well, I would accommodate you with the November 11th date by having a hybrid meeting so that we wouldn't have to worry about capacity issues.
The holiday, November the 11th, is a holiday for the city, Veterans Day.
Oh, that would be a challenge then. Okay, yeah.
Well, I think that's why I was thinking about the date uncertain, because if we can get staff and others comfortable, and we can, like we did with this date, perhaps, you know, get here sooner, it is going to be, I think, a meeting that will take some time, you know, compared to, you know, to have that on top of the agenda on November 18th, which may otherwise be a full agenda. You know, I just, you know, and again, if the 11th isn't the right date, I don't know how that works. So I don't want to speak out of turn here, but that's why I think if we make the motion for a date uncertain, that allows staff, the applicant, city attorney to work through that and potentially come back with a date sooner if it's agreeable to this board. If not, then obviously the 18th, if we're all ready, then we're already going to be here. So that's where my recommendation would probably come out, Art.
Did you want to say something, Mr. Buckman?
No, that would be fine, and that would give the opportunities for them to possibly do an earlier date than the 18th. But if not the 18th, then the 18th would need to be a hybrid. meeting as well for November, if that's what it would be. But that's completely up to the board's decision to how to continue.
Okay, so we could truly float the date. Staff could determine when they've had adequate time, and then we could provide the notice and pick a date in November, off the regular date, just to accelerate the event, you know. Yeah.
We would appreciate that.
Something like that.
And for the record, we're committed to working with staff and turning our plans around as quickly as possible. But that seems to give the greatest flexibility to have it as soon as possible, and we appreciate you accommodating this.
Okay. The challenge is always who's using the room and those issues, but you know how to work those out, so, yeah. Okay, well, we've heard from staff and the applicant. Is any discussion? I think the motion is to ask for a continuance for a date uncertain. So is there any discussion further discussion by the board? Yeah.
I'm good.
Further discussion? What's the pleasure of the board? I need a motion. Yeah.
Motion to approve continuance of PB 2020-10 for a date uncertain.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I'll call.
And then you got to do a
I'll
roll
call
call.
roll, but I won't, it'll have to be just voice.
Did
because
Mr. Barris ever sign on the system?
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't
Okay,
think
no further discussion of the motion? Okay, please call roll, Madam Clerk.
Sorry. Arthur Wood,
Yes.
Jeremy Burris, I'm sorry, Bonnie Carr,
Yes.
Douglas Triggers,
Yes.
Nick Thurston,
Yes.
Bruce Rodwell,
Yes.
Jason Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. Thank you all for coming today, and we'll see you again, what will be next month, sometime. Thank you. We have some other business to come before the board. There's an attendance report. It's included with your mailing. Mr. Rodwell was unable to attend, but did provide a meeting excuse. So we need a motion to adopt the attendance report. Yeah. So
Move to,
a motion by Mr. Driggers. Is there a second? Second. We have a second by Nick Thurston. Any discussion? Would you please call the roll, Madam Clerk, on the attendance report?
Art Wood,
Yes.
Bonnie Carr,
yes.
Doug Triggers,
Yes.
Nick Thurston,
Yes.
Bruce Rodwell,
Yes.
Jason Jones.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion carries 6-0. I was going to take the opportunity well, we had a few minutes just to talk about that a notice boundary extension that Mr. Burrs brought up a couple meetings ago. But since he's not on the line, I think I'm just going to let that go over. It will need some staff work, but I thought we could, if we just talked about it, maybe it would reduce some of the work down the road. But I think it'd be inappropriate to talk about it with Mr. Burrs not on the line. So we'll drop that matter. Is there any other matters the board would like to bring? Did I forget anything? I didn't get a script this time. So I'm more or less winging it, you know.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, there you go. I'm a good faker. Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you all very much. Yeah, thank you.
Chair for a while.
Yeah, keep me.
Oh, thank you.